Dear Mom, I hope everything is well. I miss you all. How are C.I., Justin, and Asher? How are you? Have you been able to find a stable job yet? I know that you feel like nobody cares about you, but I promise that it's far from the truth. I love you. I work a job even though I debate and go to school to help you pay for bills. I don't care that we aren't together anymore. I don't care that we've had a falling out. I don't care that sometimes you feel too emotional. I don't care that you haven't been able to fully accept my sexuality. And I don't care that you couldn't spend every night with me growing up. All I know is that I care about you. This one AC is for you. Current discourse on the topic missed the point of modern anti-black violence. Ever since the promise of 40 acres in a meal wasn't fulfilled, black folk have been caught in a cycle of poverty with no economic footing. This is no mistake. The bomb of white supremacist neoliberalism has exploded on the black body and targeted for death as Mo'omalade. The issues of peace have been mystified because they've been placed within the doomsday frame. How can we talk about struggles against racism, poverty, and exploitation when there will be no world after they drop the bombs? The struggle for peace cannot be separated from struggle. Struggle is concerned with human life. In the nuclear war, 25 to 100 million people would be killed. This is the same number of people who died as a result of the slave trade. So starvation is already a common problem when a nation's crops are grown for export rather than to feed its own people. The housing people throughout the world's urban area is already blighted and inhumane. For people of color, the world we know it ended centuries ago. Our task to reclaim the world, struggle for the rebuild in our own image. The death culture we live in has convinced many to demonstrate for survival at any cost and struggle for liberty and peace with dignity. Acts of war, nuclear holocaust, and genocide, minorities declared on our jobs, our schools, our land. We must fight as a people and not fronts where we will continue to die as a people. These struggles are not abstractions, but the only means by which we have gained the ability to eat and provide for the future of our people. Thus, the role of the judge is to demand the end of civil society as we know it. And the initial dishonoring of the black bodies allows for all the problems and black space to be seen as black pathology. The black becomes a scapegoat, allowing neoliberal white supremacy to escape responsibility. Code 214. To celebrate freedom and democracy while forgetting America's origin, slavery is a patriotism. Like Hart, the American economy was built on slavery with the capital, and White House was built by slaves. Both traded slaves from the Oval Office. Laments about black pathology ring hollow in a country whose existence was predicated on the torture of black fathers, the rape of black mothers, and on the sale of black children. The federal government engineered the wealth gap which remains with us to this day. Neoliberal poverty is not white poverty. There are deep, corrosive, obstinate differences radiating painful roots into this community, the family, and the individuals. These differences are the consequence of ancient brutality, past injustice, present prejudice. White supremacy is a force so fundamental to America that it's difficult to imagine that the country without it. Thus, the role of the ballot is to endorse a position that best calls into question and ruptures the anti-black values that undergird civil society. The notion of a living wage goes beyond the simple policy implementation question, but is actually about challenging the thingification process that enslaves and marginalizes black bodies. The notion of living wage is to give sovereignty to those dedicated to poverty as property and depositories of violence. Thus, we demand that the living wage be given to the slave. The Marxism cannot tear down the prison of anti-black violence because it doesn't address underlying notions of necessary scarcity. You must use the living wage to challenge this oppressive ideology and offer innate worth to the work. It's Creed 1. Dislocation of the market and discrimination thrust because the constant unemployment of the economy does not eliminate poverty. We must rid ourselves of nationalize those of scarcity through a living wage offering work to the worker, which precedes our economic system and internalize with humanity, which cannot be predicated upon market systems. The living wage is necessary to limit the consumption of the weak by the appetite of the strong. The worker being consumed will emerge from the ontology of disposability, oriented upon the bodies of blacks. Mark the card there, and regardless of whether the economy is booming or recovering, there are always folk lost in the workforce who work full-time but still live in poverty. That's Wicksland in 12. Employment can leave workers in poverty for inadequate pay rates. What gets lost in the panic over unemployment is that for further great recession, millions of full-employed workers fill the working poor. Without addressing low-wage workers will continue to live in poverty. Near a full employment economy, nearly 1 in 3 working adults live in poor households. The majority of the working poor did not escape poverty despite working full-time year-round. In 2010, over 2 in 5 poor workers had full-time jobs year-round. They couldn't make ends meet because of their low pay rate. And employment levels matter, but wages matter too. Whether the economy is recovering from recession or operating at a high level of activity, poor workers are fully employed but struggle because they earn poverty wages. To reduce the rates of the working poor, we must focus on quality of jobs, not just unemployment. And poverty is deadly. The structural violence of living in a daily grind leaves people without food, water, and safety, causing 18 million deaths a year. That's Gilligan. The deadliest form of violence is poverty. Structural violence is normally visible because it may appear to have had other natural violence causing 18 million deaths a year. It could be attributed to structural violence is the equivalent of an ongoing, unending, in fact, accelerating thermonuclear war, perpetuating the weak and poor every year of every decade throughout the world. And a living wage is necessary to recognize the slave demand to be recognized as human, which is key direction to the slave master slave ontology. It's Creed 2. The living wage, the actualization of a revolution of values that were rooted in the transubstantiation of humans into that which is not thing but person, an entity-based reorientation that demands the social structure of our society to change. The living wage is reorienting objects into the thought to be necessary to economic production into living human flesh. The living wage demands work to be a person. The living wage is the concretization of political action generally new by orientation to actualize material demand. And we must push towards the adjacent possible. The world must change, and only a conscious shift made by radical ideas, thinking, and reorientation can our modernity be inverted and thinkification be altered. Without this radical shift and collective cause of constant that the primitive offers, we are collectively doomed, and all empires become benevolent. Baldwin in 91. How can the American Negro possibly use this dishonor past will rise up soon to smite us? Bill is coming in that America is not prepared to pay. The problem of the 20th century, the color line, compromise all efforts to build a better world. Everything white Americans they think they believe in must be re-examined. One has to do all in one's part to change that thing, no matter what risk, eviction, imprisonment, torture, death, for the sake of one's children. In order to minimize the bill that they must pay, one must be careful not to take refuge in the value placed on the color of the skin is always and everywhere and a forever delusion. The impossible is the least that one can demand. American Negro history testifies to nothing less than the perpetual achievement of the impossible. Mark the card there and based on the literary tradition, poetry is the distillation of personal experience and new ideas that we can place into language that help us to move forward this forward. Through poetry, we give name to ideas which are nameless. As we learn to bear the intimacy of scrutiny and to flourish within it, those spirits which rule our lives lose their control over us. When we view living as a problem to be solved, we rely solely upon the ideas to make us free. For these were what white fathers told us were precious. But as we become more in touch with our own ancient black non-European view of living as a situation to be experienced and interactively, we learn more and more to cherish our feelings, respect those hidden sources of power from where true knowledge and lasting action comes. I speak here poetry as the revelation or distillation of experience, not the sterile role play that too often the white fathers distorted the word poetry. Meaning poetry is the way we help give name to the nameless and can be thought as they become known and accepted for ourselves and our feelings. Mark the card there.
Mark
at feelings. Feelings before it becomes sanctuaries.
Would you mark the grade card?
Which grade card? Or I marked the, was it the grade 2? No, I read the grade 2. I marked the grade card at blacks. So I didn't read
So
anything.
it's first oriented upon the bodies of blacks.
Yeah, and I marked it
there.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. Ready? What is the living wage?
I say that a living wage is something that demands people to be able to live as a result of their production or their work.
So it's not money, right? Or whether it's subjective.
Well, no, obviously the policy
right?
says that people get money, right? But my argument is that the value of that policy is what matters, right?
So you
obviously the policy
you pass
says,
a policy that says we give people a living wage.
Yeah, I would say that I still defend a policy being passed.
Is that all you defend?
I also defend the performance of the 1AC, right? I read
Do you
poetry.
defend any other policy being passed?
No, I don't.
You don't. Okay.
I mean, I don't know what other policy you're referring to. I say that anybody who works should be given a living wage.
I just want to clarify.
Sure.
The advocacy of the external to the performance, the method of the 1AC is we pass a piece of legislation that says all employers provide
Yes,
employees
Rod,
pay a
thank
living
you.
wage.
That's the resolution. I am defending that.
I mean, just making sure. Let's talk about the top. What is the purpose of the narrative?
The narrative is to bring into question the way in which the living wage implicates actual bodies, right? So the Lord evidence says that we need to bring ourselves into these conversations, right?
So do you say we start politics at the level of identity?
I wouldn't say that politics necessarily starts with identity. I say that the
Then
narrative or the poetry, right, allows us to give name to the nameless or bring our identities into these politics.
So is this,
right? I would say that
does subjective analysis then determine politics, or do we do it based on sort of a more structural analysis?
I don't know what that means. I say poetry is good because it brings ourselves into
Your
these
argument,
conversations, right? Like the living wage goes to someone, right?
Lord
I say that the living wage goes to myself.
Lord says that
in order to support
subjectivity
ourselves.
precedes structural analysis because subjectivity is the way we open up the fissures of the system itself. Now, do we begin with an analysis of the system or subjectivity?
I think Lord is talking about more about how we should live and understand feeling rather than, I mean, I guess that characterization is correct, right? But I think Lord is talking more about how we should get away from the Western notions of how we engage in scholarship, right? And engage more in like...
We've passed minimum wage, that's living wage policies in the United States before. Why hasn't the end of civil society occurred?
Because it hasn't been passed, like it's not, I'm defending the whole res, Varad. I'm not saying that, oh, only the US does it, or oh, only the European Union does it. I say every single employer should be required to
let's actually talk about that. All of your evidence talks about, a sort of relationship between blackness and ontology in terms of the United States. Where's any evidence to suggest it's on an international sphere that this is how anti-blackness operates?
If you want to make the claim that anti-blackness unique to U.S., you can make that claim.
I'm asking where in your aft do you have any, solvency evidence for it on an international?
What do you mean by solvency? I say that the living wage. I mean, just because Curry talks about the United States in some instances where he's like, look, the living wage passed in the United States.
In the context of the United States. So my question is, do you have international solvency evidence?
I don't say that, oh, this solves for everything in Brazil. Right? I say that the principle or the value orientation of the living wage is good because it allows us to understand that particular bodies should be able to live as a result of their production.
Cool. Quick question about I think it's the Gilligan card.
Sure.
You say poverty is deadly. Can somebody sink further into poverty? Is it possible?
I would say that poverty is sink further into poverty would seem to be like people losing more money, I guess. I don't know, but like the 1AC says that poverty is just bad.
Is that bad?
I mean, you can say that there's an increase in poverty. I say that we're already impoverished. right? Whether we make 1 cent or 2 cents a day doesn't make a difference.
It's a simple question which you're not answering. Is somebody sinking
I
further
literally
into poverty bad?
I literally just told you, if we're impoverished anyway, right, things cannot get any worse.
Is
right?
it
Whether we have
different?
1 piece of bread or 2 pieces of bread on the table, we're still freaking starving.
Did the civil rights movement do it?
Did the civil rights movement do anything?
Yeah.
I would say that the civil rights movement started to do some things, but did not finish anything, right? I would say that the 1AC is a continuation of that in order to continuously solidify those value reorientations, but I would say that the civil rights movement didn't do everything, right? I want to say that the civil rights movement solved all of racism. I would say that the 1AC is necessary to continue that ethos.
Is performance offense for you?
Yeah, it's another layer of the debate where it's like, I say that there's a performative aspect of the 1AC that is good.
Got it. The order is 4 off and pace. Can I get a bucket? You have it? Oh.
You said 240 then, right?
Yeah. Everyone good? First off, the capital text, John's government talks requiring the John's government institute a targeted living wage subsidy and require employees to pay a targeted living wage subsidy onto employers. The capital committee does require the wage subsidies that provide the wages of which all returns this have requirement and solves all the terms of comparative FCPI when a typical worker requires contractors to pay a minimum federal alternative to target wage subsidy to lift the income without raising the income cost high. Administrative tax of wage maintenance cost of higher instruction out itself, power workers, wage maintenance, include target benefit wage subsidy, dependent work proof family stuff, or cost effective, limit eligibility to target wage subsidy, limit the same benefit, the living wage mandate 35 to 60% of the budgetary cost. And second off, the act is that changing discourse and debate without shifting actual power structure, roots and illusion transformation, banking 13 official, transmission special, new discourse, with the reversal of power relations, even well, the past stretch, a lot more power, the illusion discourse, and for reinforced race essential and bullying comes out of the Lord evidence that says that we the transformer, the potion within the debate used the comparative form of the discussion rates to fall limit. Evaluation compensation in context, although what he had said we should rely on real methodological analysis, making 13D problem, the debate competence, the idea of place of the community, the building exists, range often space, much why young people wanted to often try to evaluate the accuracy, sincerity, not going to high less, finally during the agreement across the campus, only power debate, team's competition, a second recreates hostility, a pre-liberatory method, making 13D paradox, the shock of the white speech, performance, black specs, black static, up toward all time, different type performance, no way, now somebody relocates because it depends on the whites, member of the black community, some of those, that medical active whiteness. Third off is the Scott critique, the evidence of experience as the foundation of analysis, and contest why academic the country says epistemological friends rather than that of the individual subject of the visibility of things like homosexuality and narrative is naturalized instead of the product of colonial system that is the visibility of experience and reproduce the ideological system. Scott 91, this all part of it discovered that the can project to determine that when evidence is offered experience and practicality watches what kind of appeal as a successful evidence foundation which now to face we can critical concept history of demonstrating that if modern friends start to examine the assumption but experience takes it as they want to dawn of the vision of the subject becomes a bedrock of evidence experience, the evidence of experience reproduces ideological systems history, adopted the word of homosexuality until the effects not those not fact by making the experience visible, reproduce critical examination working the ideological systems without premise about what the category between homosexuality and repressed ideas sounds about the side that legislates homosexuality history is a chronological basis for instance which categories here historical presented story very soon the history available in a relationship between homosexual and heterosexual conversation nature of different time and place occupied naturalizing experience is evidence in poetry offers with the structure of ideological construction that doesn't explain how subjectivity is produced and great authenticity and showing how public Scott 91 experience often ideological construction and naturalized categories such as man, woman, black, heterosexual, homosexual treated as the experience is possible by subjectivity experience and briefly the relation between discourse, cognition, and reality. The relative of the position as if we know the authority of something not matched by the limitation so to speak, know to legitimate everything here, so it's no power of the policy notion of the knowledge, embracing a process of intersubjective communication, precludes experiential analysis of the problems identifying blackness as status point, and equitable recruits and to go status identity, that means the app fails in every instance, God 91, and it's discourse of character experience, that is initial shift experience, and it's what seems not a step, unquestioned ground, for non-intensity, intercapitalization, sort of percent, actual legal, reference to society, law, and people, different experience, substance, will make me, and it would be a systematic instance that the world responds to change experience, although the only considering experience, and we can tell itself we can never define it, don't want experience is kind of relevant, doing to establish the possibility for technology and communication among history, the insistence separation, I think what's crucial is only the way seems the way you have to change that part, change and experience dictates experience is universal, which is set, actually skip that part. Next off, the winter peak, there's no hope for the question of humanity, though potentially human should be how they actually activate competence with an anthropological white key modes about winter safety, what should humans rely on questions about how they took over the world, you cannot dissolve into constant interpret the body, no, the medieval order, the no way, which you can define certain plans, the moving back to the man touch model, can solve the conscious man onto gender by cultural concepts being who creates culture, does constructing, and social systems of power must be discursively legitimate. The issue is not what we speak, but how we speak it, and perpetuate the very specific cultural determination, how systems work, and upon discursive ability. Affirmative is not simply about the difference of values, well, but it's the difference about how the affirmative refined naturalized notion structure. It's also toward the Omalati evidence, the very top says that we never, the Omalati evidence that says that's worse than the problem is that your methodology and recreate ideological systems is not a try or die situation, but rather a question of our method, how do we rectify methodology so they can actually resolve issues. It can definitely get worse. So we can move from the prison-industrial complex back to the plan where people can literally be lynched legally. No one would do anything about it. Winter 92 system power must be source of legitimate, not to say that the power set originally said infrastructure was question say even more reality, but Jefferson power culture step, chip development structure that also have provided each separate code for other economic elements culture step with completely legitimized structure now. Here's the big ass impact of all this theoretical shit. The affirmative cannot claim to adjust must solve the human existence without addressing racism for most itself. If it admits the anthropological and colonial view, colonial difference, the world is over. Winter 3, the struggle will be between one and parents, the well-being of what's accepted the human and the main overarching representation of human itself, the human to be sent outside of coloniality, power called outside of over-representation, all different structure with respect to race, class, sexual orientation, ethnicity, struggle over the capital, going severe content, and shall be earth resources, struggle, the struggle is usually to an individual situation, and kind of by again, to move forward, the rapidly expanding increasing cultural homeless, so jobless, and criminals, majority dependent population, the black population group, one can be complacent, von side, hardly with all and new one coming, non-white claiming to normalize the North American identity, so this is the unbelt of the black population struggle, against the population, sanitized, and function, the same manner, law of the parents, discursive, social, reload, over representation, enables interest in pure world, and the parents, more than those, now, head market, class man case. Projection about the living wage helping interact the only way something to generate next change the incentive to keep solve, which means he also causes unemployment EPR one target living wage something to love employed mental cost of living wage with a lot of not generally available those to have serious methodological problems professional context disagree with the perception later context beautiful considerable amount of research and the low target 70 more fiction and aim for living wage when it's also internally for the limit evidence because one is methodology doesn't have this methodology is bigger. It does decades of research over 20 years of research, which is with only 2 years of research, which also internally arguments about value orientation. Who gives a shit about value orientation when you can't have enough money to put food on the table, which is also the reason why unemployment precedes the sort of the value orientation, also the lowest of workers replaced with the kind of voice to solve the impurity. You got one of the little bit to solve the job loss and increase all of the cost of being for something high skill work, the very low skill, target weight, something not to a job because not raising poor costs and the worker, the employer also vote negative about consumption. It does make sense to pass the living wage that that's is going on huge methodological change. We've passed the living wage before. We've passed minimum wage policy before. We still see the same damn things. Black people are still shot. Freddie Gray is still shot on the streets. And the problem is he doesn't resolve internally, nor a question of why would we implement this on an international scale. Is that ever going to change anything? Which means also that there's no salty for the living wage argument. He's inevitably going to end this to where the try or die scenario about how we're already present in status quo. However, the problem is that is not the reality of the situation. Things still can't get worse. Also, the one is the legal reading of the world and normalizes what's independent subject, ignoring individual geopolitical stances and understanding the personal responsibility. Your focus on America and telling me that this civilized world is Eurocentric language and UK. Whose radical criticism is result in interest to conservative something the West concealed subject that no geopolitical interpretation verse and something the Western world is still in the production by the project ignored the crisis of European history because the crisis of all history.
Before we start, what cards didn't you read in this document?
Here, I just give me the squash out. The cut version is also on here.
Huh?
The cut version is also on here.
Alright, cool. Let me get those.
You're good.
Let me just open up. Is it just called the same thing, or? Everybody ready? You read this piece of winter evidence and say that we discursively legitimate the system. Does this mean that when we said, hey, y'all shot Trayvon, that's what caused them to shoot Mike Brown?
I think you misunderstand the winter
Okay,
evidence.
so then what's the argument?
Right, so the argument's about identity being a stasis. Winter specifically says that the way we discursively legitimate these things is we assume them to be true and take praxis based on that stasis of identity. But Winter says that the question...
What does it mean to take something to be true? Does it mean that we affirm that it will always be the same?
Yeah, we affirm that assumption, right? Yeah.
Or does that mean that we affirm
when
that
we operate
status quo and
the
move past that?
stasis of identity?
Does it, wait, I'm asking a very important distinction.
Okay.
Does it mean that we affirm that it will always be the same? Or
Yeah,
that we affirm that it happens?
praxis,
Or I'm asking the follow-up question, Varad. There's a distinction question here. Or does it mean that we understand it happens in the status quo and we can move past it?
Latter.
Latter.
Prior.
Prior. So you're indicting the prior.
Yeah.
Why is the 1AC the prior? Why do I say that we will always be a slave?
So the problem... No. See, again, that's not what I'm indicting.
I literally just asked you that, Varad. I said that if we affirm that it will always happen...
Does that mean we're always going to be the slave? That's not what the link is, right?
Then what is the link, Varad?
Slave is not necessarily an identity which is ascribed or prescribed. The link is via...
What does that mean? Ascribe, prescribe. Wait, back up. Ascribe, prescribe. Because, like, you notice that some of them are just like, what are you talking about, bro? Can you explain it to me? Ascribe, prescribe.
The identity
what
of
does
the
that
slave
mean?
is an imposed identity.
It's an
versus
imposed
blackness,
identity.
which is an identity intrinsic to the individual, which is what the 1AC claims. The criticism of the winter evidence says...
Oh, wait, why does the 1AC claim that blackness is
like,
intrinsic to the individual?
I'm trying to answer multiple of your
no,
questions.
I want you to answer my questions. Stop taking the cross-ex. I'm asking the questions. I need to know the link, Varad. Why is that the 1AC...
You keep saying, I'm going to ask a different question, and then same question.
No, you're trying to
explain
a
it
relevant rant about these random terms that you've read off of wikis, but you don't understand yourself. I'm asking the questions.
I cut all this evidence.
Let's talk about it.
Christian, stop it right now. I've read just as much as you. I'm
not saying you haven't read as much as me, Rod.
You're literally going
Rod, calm down, calm down.
If you're not
Rod, why are you doing this during my cross-sections? Let me ask these questions,
Because you're being asked.
Okay, alright. I'm just trying to ask these questions. You're the one who's going on rants. Okay? Let me ask the question.
Read on wikis
and
you don't understand terms.
Okay, Rod, I'm just trying to get you to stop trying to over-explain things. I want to ask the questions.
Go for it.
Okay. Now I forgot my question. You say that Joe. You say that the link to the 1AC is that we affirm the assumption of the black or the prescription of the slave. What do you mean by ascribe?
That's not the link.
You literally just said okay.
That's not the link.
Okay, I'll let you explain it. Explain it, please.
So intrinsic identity, i.e. things like blackness, homosexuality, etc., sexuality being a deviant, all of those are statuses of identity, whether it's in the narrative, whether it's in the evidence itself, and fails to understand that the only way those identities were produced were via colonialism itself.
Why does the 1AC do that? Recognize
because
that
you take praxis based upon what? You take praxis based upon those specific subjectivities.
Before I start, what are the statuses of the counterplan and the
what
are the statuses? Okay, I'm taking precedence. What are the status of the counterplan and the principles? They're both conditional?
Yeah.
All right. Also, can I get the text of the counterplan? Because there are a bunch of blank spaces in the document you sent me.
Yeah, sure. It's just government should institute a target living wage.
Okay.
Probably not. No. If not possible.
I have 52 left. It's gonna be an overview on case, and then the order of the Scott critique, affect, counterplan, measure. Overview on case, and then I'm gonna answer the arguments he makes on case, and then Scott critique, affect, counterplan, measure. Wait, you flash to your speech doc instead of mine.
Thank you, sick. I'm happy.
going to be called the section of your document.
Wait, what?
It's the speech 1 and C doc, because I didn't change the document.
So it's speech 1 and 3/4.
Yeah. Sorry, that's confusing. And obviously the rhetoric of the stuff on top.
Right.
Is everybody ready? The role of the Bible is vote for the debate who best calls into question the values of anti-black lives. The role of the judge is to demand the end of society. As we know, you have to impact all of these arguments as per the one and see into this framing arguments. He has not done that as per the one and see. That means you already presume affirmative. If you don't have a reason to vote negative at the end of the debate, don't vote for him. But also the question to ask yourself at the end of the debate is, should working both be able to live? The thesis of the affirmative is that we need to recognize that we can and must begin to take steps to affirm the human worth of workers. We have to destroy the mentality of terms people as things. If we don't, then the employers will continue to abuse the workers and mere things as Hansen and War. How can almost a quarter of the U.S. workforce be invisible, call them low-wage workers, employed in low-paying minimum or no benefit jobs, exploited working poor, living from check to check without no job security, undereducated, trained, and respected job seekers, sucking dead in jobs? Do not call them lazy. 30 million workers earn the income that marks the federal poverty line for family. For many of these folks work multiple jobs just to survive. Minorities are more represented in low-wage workforce than the total workforce, and immigrants are likely to land low-paying jobs. Low-wage workers have basic benefits and tools for career advancement. Many, like healthcare, basic days paid breaks, and other benefits that higher-wage workers take for granted. Many are living on the brink. One misstep and they could be dead and out of work. These workers are treated with little respect by their employees. Living bathroom breaks, forcing workers to wear clothing, or not taking suggestions from workers seriously. The solution not to move all workers out of these positions, but to boost earnings from these jobs to a living wage. The thesis of the one you see that we need to recognize that people who work should be able to live. They produce, therefore should have access to living. As long as the one doesn't answer this central argument, that means you vote affirmative on the one you see. On the one you see, you say that the wage subsidy kind of plan can solve the question of unemployment. That your methodology is bigger because Wixom evidence is only about 2 years. But the question is not about unemployment; it's about job quality. Wixom evidence is great because they talk about how even when we are in a terrible recession or when we are at a high jobs, people who still work multiple jobs because they have been paid nothing is exactly why they are products. The Gilligan evidence is going to be a reason you vote for affirmative here, because we can resolve the question of structural violence and B, we will outpower it because we change the way in which people are viewed. I'm going to answer is framing evidence here. You say that we should be worried about the actual things that happen. Who cares about our value reorientation? I'm sorry, the people who are forced to shit on themselves are the ones who care about the value reorientation. They're viewed as nothing. That is exactly why they are abused within the workforce. I'm sorry, Varad, that you don't know what it means to be poor, to be forced to work multiple jobs like my mother does, but that is the reason you should listen to the debate. Also, you have not answered the purported question B to critique that you read the affect. This is going to be an overview. The affect and the Scott evidence. You can pull this on the Lord evidence. The Scott and the Scott critiquing the affect. This had make no sense in context of the Lord evidence because it's completely non-unique. You make claims that say that we are good, that there's going to be hostility, but there's already hostility against our bodies. That's the Lord evidence. Also, the performance is going to be best to solve the winter critique because you say we should not read the Western anthropology. I mean, come on, Brad, you are doing the exact same thing. The moment you read a counterpoint that is completely that's probably going to be completely rooted in whiteness, but also you so outright within that Western anthropology, only the Lord evidence, the performative aspect of the when you see something that the NC cannot call out because you prove that we break out of the Western chains. To think is to be no, to feel is to be free. This is the reason you should already vote affirmative on the performative question on the presumption argument. On the presumption argument, you say that the living wage has already happened, but that has not happened in the context of the 1AC. We are a whole res approach. We say every single just government should require their employees to pay a living wage. Just because you win in isolated instances that it happens does not mean that the affirmative has actually happened. You say that Trayvon Martin has been killed. You say that Mike Brown's been killed. That is because they are think by that's the current two evidence, and you're winning the whole damn debate. On these Scott evidence, if you don't get it, then you shouldn't vote for it. Nobody understands what the fuck he's talking about here. You make a bunch of arguments that the economy is incompetent, that we naturalize particular experience. But I'm also going to answer that by saying that we don't substitute the entirety of evidence with discourse. Rather, we supplement that discourse. We supplement the evidence with our discourse. That's the Lord evidence. We don't say that we should take out the entirety of empirical debate. Rather, we should humanize it and actually bring ourselves to that question on the object. This the 1AC does both. The 1AC does not say that we should substitute evidence for performance. Rather, we say we should do both. Also, why does the affirmative make a claim about changing? The one does not claim that our performance changing things about the way in which we review. Rather, we say that as a better form of knowledge production. On the counterclaim, you have not proven a competitive argument. That's why permutation solves everything. At the very least, they are not mutually exclusive, but also the permutation is solved because we control the interlink to why we reviewed is nothing within the status quo. It's because of linkation. That's why you should vote for him there. And also, I've already answered the winter evidence on the case for the performance solves it, but also we are not discursively exhibiting him. Yeah, just get the time. Yes, sir, for you.
Caterpillar, Scott K, or actually the Winter K first. Winter K, Scott K, affect, face. Everyone good? Major mess up when you're conceding the counterpoint solves the outcome. We still take the path of living wage, but there's no legislation that mandates it. This is a huge distinction which is going to be the route. The counterpoint is functionally floating because it results in the same consequences that however the problem is the counterpoint does not mandate a living wage pass, it simply just says subsidize businesses that pass the living wage, which the EPI law says it incentivizes companies enough to actually require the minimum wage itself, which means the counterpoint top of the applicant is never to be will still implement the living wage, which means that functionally I want functionally and the applicant, there's no legislation key one out of the 1AR. There's no reason why passing a living wage mandate is necessary to access value matrix charges. So the category top of the act also can see that actual net benefit coming out of the category that says when we pass a living wage, when we subsidize this incentivize them to actually hire more people, because when we incentivize and when we subsidize them, it actually lowers the amount of taxes paid imposed upon them, so they have more money to actually resolve all the problems, which also means the category top of the act. Also reason why it's not mutually exclusive. He said permutation, but seven out of the mandate of the plan that says you have to do a living wage. The category gives businesses options to that. The pure practice suggests that it incentivizes them enough to actually impose a living wage. Really easy. Kind of what solves the app. So access the value orientation arguments. No reason to vote F. Internal net benefit of employment. Permutation setups. Winter. The winter bridge contains no link over the winter peak. There's no link to an so it's not an often target argument for it. I've seen he's winning an argument about how he kind of reformulates under. I'm going to answer that on Scott K. Now go on to Scott K. He says you have no fuck. You have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. But this is just shoddy scholarship. Just because you don't understand the criticism doesn't mean that there's deep academic roots and it's out when you see the link level is very obvious. When you utilize performance experience as the basis for offense. Now the distinction here is going to get up and say that I suggest we do both and that they supplement each other. Read the Lord Emerson experience at the very top and cross-examination devastating else when he says that yes, the performance itself functions as offense. The whole point of Scott Everett says that naturalized assumptions of colonialism and inevitably reproduces ideological that status quo. When you take blackness to be a state of identity, when you take other forms of identity to be the very basis upon which you do your analysis and practice, that inevitably reproduces ideological systems, because colonialism that produces these ideals in the first place never questions that, and never means that these systems of power just reproduce themselves somewhere else, which also means that go to line by line. He says that you have no idea what I'm talking about. He says that we should discursively talk about. I discursively change how we see individuals. Well, the problem is that he only changed the imposition of the idea of the slave. He so accepts blackness as its basis of identity, which also means that there should no possibility of an old link out of the argument. Also, he's conceded a couple of different links. One is coming out of the narrative of the top, specifically the homosexuality argument, coming out of the argument about sexuality, coming out of the link level of the Scott analysis says that when you utilize experience and say sexuality is being hidden away, when sexuality can never be accepted, which is the link coming out of the narrative, that hides homosexuality, creates it to be a desire, unnatural, and identifies as sort of queer to normality, and legislates heterosexuality to be the norm. But the problem is you need to be questioning what produced the idea of homosexuality in the first place. What produced these categories of identity, which the Scott evidence says that when you utilize experience as an offense, you authenticize this sort of evidence because it becomes unquestionable. Of course, it's unquestionable when you talk about your mom and how she's working 9 to 5. How can one contest that? That naturalizes that sort of evidence, that evidence, gives it an authentic relationship, and utilizes one subjective experience to be the objective explanation for all. He utilizes one instance to speak for everyone, which is exactly what Scott evidence identifies as a problem, because we can never use subjectivity as an objective analysis, because that's the whole point. It's subjective, it's not objective, which is a problem identified and conceded. These are all conceded arguments, not answered the last week. So 2 yards going to get up and be waxed about how shit is already bad now and it can get worse. But the problem is, it's a question about method at the end of the day. What do we do to change it? The dysfunctions, one is massive essentials that he makes it work because we make us feel like we're actually doing something when in reality we've done nothing and actually reversed the process because we believe that we've changed the hierarchy whenever we've just restructured the hierarchy and made it more ominous. You also see the impact about interest-subject analysis, the impact about interest-subject analysis, which is going to be the place where I want to make. He forecloses the possibility of subject analysis because when we use subjective identity, we go out and we want to say the other person is wrong and our own subjective experience is right, which forecloses the possibility of black liberation, which also means the no sovereignty, but also no future sovereignty, which also means the kind of sovereignty he's going to go for some performative aspect. This impactors any sort of performance arguments he's going for in the next week.
So, pretty easy. Conceded this edge. Clearly misunderstood it. Affect.
I'm not going to go for the link argument about change with the make place. I'm going to go for the black aesthetic argument. The claim the black aesthetic repaint twine and make the evidence they utilize when it's measured stick in the non-traditional forms of absence to the poetry link coming out of the bottom. That's that for two reasons. One, they depend on the white discontent of black liberation, but also two, they jump more to the black community by accusing actions of being white, which separates whiteness and blackness, which reproduces divides within the community. Affect is about black liberation, black aesthetic is consciously, but also functions as a tourniquet target. The reason why he perpetuates, he fractures coalitions not only with the vacant community, but extra when we use what their terminology when we create that divide in our solvency evidence,
causes bad things such as the impacts which I just identified. Case.
You can take a link to that. You can find one of the CPR1 evidence. That's CPR1 evidence. So it's also internal links with all your diligent evidence. Means our impact framing goes. You can see the two pieces of warrants analysis. That one, the EPI evidence. There's over 2 decades of research. Former qualified. You actually talk about it on an international scale. So please can be more qualified than your wisdom evidence. Also means that you don't actually value orientation argument because you consider the way argument about who the fuck cares about whether your values are being reoriented when you don't have enough money to put food on the table, which also means that your Hansen evidence goes away. It's from over a decade ago. How can you take economic analysis from over a decade ago? We've had global financial crisis since then, but also he's considered. Stop giving me a phrase, Christian. You know you're wrong. So he's also considered this evidence from a long time ago, which also means that things clearly got worse. That was the example given above, which also means he doesn't ask the value orientation argument.
Very easy. Kind of what tells you out. Risk and net benefit. He's going to concede the impact terms performance.
I'm just going to start on the last point, the value orientation arguments. Value orientation arguments. The framing of the round. Counter plan. Scott.
One more time. Yeah. Sorry.
It's going to start on literally the last argument he made, like who cares about food and value orientation of food. Like that framing argument. Counter plan. Scott. Actually, Scott didn't counter.
What is the Scott counterclaim?
Yeah. Is everybody ready?
No. Scott.
Everybody ready?
That 2 and R was technical in all the wrong places. You have not answered the Hansen evidence that exactly answers your freaking question of who cares about a value orientation when people are forced to shit on themselves. Who cares about food on the table when you're not even allowed to gain access to a job in the first place when you're not respected in the workforce. But also when you say that I'm wrong about the weak link that is LOL, it's not from a decade ago. It evaluates 2 different points of the economy when we're in a recession and we're at the height of our economy to prove that it does not matter how employed we are. It matters the quality of those jobs. You say that you can solve the entirety when you see that people are unemployed, when we say that those jobs are meaningless when they pay us nothing, when we're forced to go on ourselves. That is exactly the reason that the central question in this debate is whether working people should be able to live. You have not answered the role of the judge that says that we should call into question the particular values. The 1 and C had the opportunity to explain how the Scott critique can solve the role of the judge, but you did not do that. And the 1 and C don't grant this 2 and R block about why the 1 AC was a bad idea when you have not even impacted that to the role of the judge. This is bad debating on broad part when you don't provide a counter rule of the judge or impact any of your arguments for the rule of the judge. You have not called into question anything. The only argument you could have won was the winter analysis, but that is exactly showing your whiteness, Brad. You go for a counter plan that does not do anything for our bodies, which is the argument that we all know could have actually engaged in this particular debate round. This is the reason that you vote against him, because the counter plan does nothing in a world where you say that we could just let people out do things, but the Hansen evidence answers this completely in a world where white employer will choose to give their people a living wage when they don't respect them at all. You force them to the goal themselves, you don't give them benefits, how do you think that they will be given a living wage? You say that you incentivize people, you won't incentivize anyone if their beauty is not that you can just lay them off. That is the entirety of the one of y'all that says that you are non-unique completely. You say that you incentivize higher employment rates, but you don't do anything in a world where the job can go, fuck you, you're not working for me anymore. Let's go to the counterplan. You say that the counterplan solves that to prove why it needs to be mandated. The Hansen evidence does that beautifully in a world where he shows why the quality of jobs are terrible. You say that you incentivize higher employment. That does nothing in order already forced to soil ourselves. I've answered this on the case flow. You shouldn't go here on the Scott critique. I already said it in the 1AR. I'm going to say it again in the 2AR. If you don't get it, you don't vote on it. You say that the performance is a bad idea, that the performance is the basis of offense is a bad idea. Fine. Fine, you may win that the performance is a bad idea. You've not proven that the 1AC is a bad idea, but also you have not answered the central question is the uniqueness claims. You see on the affect, it said that there's going to be hostility. You say on the Scott critique that we normalize the idea of sexuality being hidden. I talk about how my mother has normalized my sexuality. I've talked about how those particular systems have normalized that sexuality because we're viewed as freaking things that normalize these sexualities. I have not done that. You need to explain to me at the end of the round how the fuck does reading that narrative say that sexuality is always going to be not accepted. I say that's because of theification. You say it's because of me. You have to explain that to me at the end of the debate round. So, only argument you can even possibly vote on, if you understand this Scott critique, because I still damn don't, but I have one why he doesn't impact that back to the role of the judge. Also, the counterplan does nothing in face of the Hansen evidence.
Actually, Hanson.
Yeah, can I just